All the energy. Here we are. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We got a great show for you. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Alley.
I'm pumped up. You're pumped up. Yeah. We got a big day today. I'm at the studio with my two girls, loves of my life. I got Kristen Bond live with me, and we have the one, the only, Miss Birthday Girl herself, Miss Amber Yacklin.
Woo, thanks for having us, guys.
Oh, happy birthday, Amber.
Thank
Fantastic. We won't say your age over the air, but you
can't. I actually
look
love
way
it.
younger.
I'm 40 today. 40 and fabulous.
All right. Fantastic.
Yes, love it.
Congratulations. You guys are a lot of fun.
Best decade yet.
Best decade yet. That's what we're
decided.
claiming.
Well, you guys, we have lots to talk about, Becky, lots to share. Of course, it feels like springtime. It's going to be gorgeous today, and I guess tomorrow the sun's going to shine in the 40s. Not cool because they
In
finally
the 40s, I mean.
Yeah, that's warm.
You're welcome.
Finally got the Plymouth Ice Show kicking, and yeah, they're going to be out there fighting the sun off just keep things from melting out there. But hey, lots of fun things to do, and we're going to talk about some fun things in real estate and mortgages.
We're always talking about fun things when you got Amber and Kristen in the studio, and anytime there's any openings, they're always like I'm like, yes, come in, and we get to hang out all night long, all day long, but we also love what we do daily. So I get to see them in their offices, and we talk about real estate and how we can set up homeowners for success. And the biggest topic right now that I feel like in real estate is, that constant conversation of now. And, buyers are also very hesitant at the same time. So as professionals, we can see the things that they don't see, but it's happening, getting that message across of why we say week in, week out, why this market and this timing of the market is such a good time for these buyers that are renting, just get into, throw their hat in the ring and start looking to purchase.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a buyer recently who was kind of going through this, like waffling kind of in and out of the market, and not waffling in a way like he didn't know what he wanted, but obviously there is that constant fear of, am I making the right decision at the right time?
More confidence gives you that, that step above, like, wait a minute, now I feel confident. There's always something missing. And I look at right in people's eyes and I'm like, look, there's something you want to ask me. So do me a favor. If you don't know it right now, you can always write it down or call me anytime. That's why, again, having that open line of communication and really building that confidence up. You might not be ready. Becky always says might not be ready now. Whenever you're ready, when it's your time, you'll be confident, you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a first-time home buyer yesterday where it's that, it's daily. It's a daily conversation that as a lender, and I feel all lenders probably have this conversation of, well, I don't want my credit pulled and I wanted to find the house. And then now I want, what does it look like? And they're asking me all these questions. And, and I ask them the question, I'm like, why? What is that hesitation behind me pulling your credit? Why would you want to find the house and then for me to pull your credit and find out that you actually only have $5,000 in the bank and you actually don't have the credit to qualify for the down payment assistance? And now you actually really, really love this house that you're speaking on. And we are now probably 30 days away from making that happen. And he said, well, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for you, Becky. I just, everyone always says, don't let anyone pull your credit and that's a bad thing. And it's going to affect it if your credit's pulled. So I do want to talk about this. We talk about it randomly on the show, but just really quick, if you are in the market to buy a house, a credit inquiry is the most minuscule effect on your credit. What's going to affect your credit is missing payments, overextending your credit, and collections. Those are things that are going to affect your credit. There's also a difference between a mortgage inquiry and you going and getting a new car lease. There's a difference between you going to Kohl's and Home Depot and trying to get the best 0% credit card you can get. There's no hesitation there, but there is hesitation with mortgage inquiries. So just please, if you're thinking about buying a house, you have to have the conversations right now, because you having the conversations right now is putting you in line to finally maybe get into a house around March or April at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's the fear of the unknown is I think what it comes down to for most people. And it's even if you're not talking about mortgages as buying a house, right? Like people, when they're sick, they're scared to know what it is or things like that. And the reality is, we say all the time, you want to get in conversations sooner than when you're ready to do something, because at least when you find out the information, even if it's not what you expected, even if there's some work to be done, now at least you know, and you can take the steps forward to do what you need to do to set yourself up properly for when you are ready.
Yeah, I think clarity is kindness.
Oh,
and clarity and kindness for yourself.
Action breeds clarity.
Yeah.
Right? So I was going to say, when people reach out to us and then reach out to Becky and we've got them ready to roll on a house and we know what they're going to be pre-approved for, I feel like the psychology behind it is like they feel like they're committing. Like if you pull my credit, I'm committing. I'm stuck with you. I'm stuck with this decision. I'm stuck with, right? Like we all of a sudden get like, don't put me in a box. I will buy a house whenever I feel like it. And I feel that pressure off people. And sometimes it is coaching them through the right questions. Like I was on the phone with a buyer and I could tell that he was like, I don't love this house anymore. And I'm like, what happened? Like, let's just talk about it. I don't want to push you to buy that house if it's not the house, but I have to know why it's not. So we don't go repeat that in a new house. And it's okay. Like Becky said, and Harvey, even you touched on this, it's their timeline, not ours. And we've always lived and died by that. I have worked personally with Becky with clients that have been like, I need 2 years. And we're like, great, guess what? In 2 years, Becky calls me. She's like, he's ready. Let's go. And we got him a beautiful house. I remember, I mean, that's one specific. Or even in the case of this one buyer, once he knew what those payments were going to look like, he thought, oh, I want to switch what my price range is and my location. So that action breeds clarity.
Yes.
I like that.
And there's like deep conversations. So even to that point, right? So let's just say you're a first-time home buyer. I was on the phone with someone last night, pretty late, and they wanted to know what the payment was going to be once the taxes unlocked. So when you buy a house from somebody, the first year you're paying the same taxes. If you're buying grandma's house, you're paying the same taxes that she did for, the first almost year. Every 6 months it's going to change. Well, we have an ability to kind of tell you what your taxes are going to be in the future. And he wanted his payment to be $1,000 and not $1,000 right now. He wanted it to be $1,000 after the future payment. So it is a constant ebb and flow daily conversation between me and his agent and himself to identify that kind of price point, because you're trying to hit a moving target going 1,000 miles an hour. You have to find the perfect house with those perfect taxes, and then you also have to get an accepted offer on that house. I mean, so we're gonna have our work cut out for us on that one. But at the same time, we're like literally hand holding every day to identify that perfect house.
Just that little change in property taxes. So if your taxes are $3,000 a year, it's $250 a month. If they're $4,000 a year, it's $333 a month. So $50 and the $83 difference right there.
Look at that
just
math you just
it's
did
all in
right
my
now,
head.
everybody.
Yeah, I'd make some teacher
I
proud.
need like a cheat sheet for that. Like got a little like
wasn't that
laminated
hard.
card for me, or
Hey guys, the housing market's off to a good start this year. The consumers are benefiting from a little bit lower interest rates than that scare we had back in October when they were creeping up over 8%. Now we're right around 7, maybe lower if your credit's better, maybe a little larger down payment. Jobs, the job market's been pretty good. They
hurt the rates a little bit yesterday when the job market, when it came out a little bit.
But housing here is very affordable. That's a constant theme we're always talking about. The supply and demand, again, that's going to drive the prices up. So back to that window again. Here we are in wintertime or springtime, coming up around the corner. We have a short window before the 2024 prices hit. It's just like when you go to anywhere to go buy something. Come this springtime, the baseball equipment's probably going to cost a little bit more money than right now. Maybe you got this little window of opportunity, and that's what we're talking about. If you think home ownership is your thing, definitely want to join our show. Give us a call, 248-539-9797. We'll answer all those calls. And all week long at Capital Mortgage Funding, a 1-800-LOW rate. That's 1-800-569-7283. Lots to share with you today. We're going to talk about down payment assistance. Eric looks like he wants to go to a break. We're going to talk about down payment assistance, the inventory. The Fed did meet this week, and it looks like maybe that lower interest rate, Becky, is going to hit this summer.
I mean, let's just, it's going to hit us like the great time we're going to have later on tonight on Amber's birthday. I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. The rates have already dropped a little bit even since, the end of the year this year. And we're definitely going to see a lot of opportunities for our buyers, because affordability has been an issue just all the way around nationally when it comes to the home ownership, and rent is through the roof. And, Kristen, we were talking about this, right? We know, right? You can afford a house at $1,400, but you're also going to, that same house you might be renting and it's $2,400, and you have to constantly, and if the individuals are affording this rent, I find that it is my almost duty to help open their eyes and help them see something for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in a unique situation right now personally, but it has really opened my eyes to, wow, I'm in a rental temporarily right now at an amount that is actually more than double my actual home mortgage payment. So it's crazy. And I think if we can help renters see this, understand this, they can be in actually a much better situation in getting the benefits of being a homeowner too.
All right, we're up against our first break. I like that. We're going to give you 1 hour jam-packed mortgages, real estate, a whole lot more. It's Amber's birthday, by the way. If anyone wants to call and just wish her a happy birthday, we'll do that. And you guys have the big Thrive Realty party tonight. That sounds cool.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about Thrive Realty too. I love the vibes over there. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. We are back. Live here in the studio, 9:14. We're hearing about Amber's second life here.
Yes, I've entered my second season of life.
Well, that's true, Amber. Life changes. I mean, now again, we get older. Now the kids can stay home on their own. Hey, maybe you don't need to downsize yet. But again, that is part of what goes on in life. That again, another 15, 20 years, maybe you are downsizing.
Well, this is something I've always said since I started my real estate career. Like, I understand that there are market conditions. There's always market conditions. There's always going to be some sort of interest rate. There's always going to be some sort of market, whether it's a buyer's market, a seller's market. I haven't seen the whole gamut of it in my career, but I've seen it shift for sure. And I will tell you this, most people move because of a life event, not because of the market. That is most of the time.
No, and I agree with you. I actually think that, no matter what, the American dream is always going to be like home ownership. And, there's a lot of pent up demand around buying a house. But if some people you want to go through the motions like, oh, I think I have to get married and have kids and then buy a house, right? If that's your reason, well, then that's not really a reason, right? But at the same time, you got to go deep. Why do you want to buy the house? Where do you want to buy the house? So that we don't also in that situation where you don't have buyer's remorse, where people that were buying houses in 2020 just to buy houses because the rates were so cheap. And then they wanted to turn around and sell them because that house no longer suited them. So I love that. when your alignment with Kristen and Amber, they go really deep with you. It's not just this surface level, I want to buy a house, like I want to buy a kitten. This is like an investment. This is like where you're going to possibly raise your family or raise yourself even. Like you might grow up in this house into your adult self, and then you're going to be entering the second season of your life like Amber, and then buy another house.
And then let's talk about the fact that that's still the number one wealth building tool is real estate. Like let's not sleep on that. Like I understand if you have some great rental rate somewhere where you're paying $1,000 a month and you've got some like wizard rental rate that no one else is getting right now. So you're the opposite of what we just talked about, right? So instead of like, oh, we'll get you into a house and you'll save money, you're like, oh, I'm spending more, right? Like I'm doing all my air quotes. Like I'm spending more money if I buy a house. But you're paying something down that you're going to own. You're also investing in something that's going to go up in value. Right now, if you're renting a home, all you're doing is paying your landlord's mortgage, which is going up in value. And then as soon as that landlord decides he doesn't want to be a landlord anymore, he's going to put a for sale sign in the front lawn. You get nothing.
You got to be careful with that.
It's like that scene in Willy Wonka. You get nothing. You drink the fizzy Lipton. You get nothing. You lose.
That's not nice.
Good day, sir.
It came up on the show last week too. There was a couple people, and again, sometimes families are up against some struggles, so they start making bad decisions. They enter these crazy land contracts, unrecorded land contracts, no attorneys involved, no one's reviewing it for them. They don't own the house. They give up their life savings to find out the other person didn't even own the house. There's no title insurance pulled, so we can't find out who the true owner is. Bad things like that. Also, rent to own. Don't get that out of your vocabulary. Wherever that was, I don't think it's in the Webster's dictionary anymore, Becky. It's very difficult, and very few, I'm going to say less than 5% of the families out there that ever did a rent to own, I'm giving you 33 years of experience here, really were able to document it. Now, you could do a seller's concession to get you in if you are currently renting a house and maybe you've got something arranged. Do give us a call right now. A couple things. And number one, make sure you're paying with a check where they're bank statements, and we can go ahead and take a look at this. If you don't have checks, cashier's checks from your bank where we can get 12 months canceled checks. That's the key, so we can actually verify that you've been making timely payments.
Yeah, if anyone's listening and you have an aversion to bank accounts, I want you to call in because I see it very often. I know you see it too. There's a big aversion, and I know we had the banking situation, in Silicon Valley, where people are pulling their money out of an account, but if you're buying a house, everything has to be documented. If you are getting into any kind of investment for yourself, you have to document those funds. If you are doing a land contract, you have to protect yourself. You have to have a documented paper trail. We took a call about 2 weeks ago of a gentleman on a land contract, and he was paying this in cash. And then that land contract holder was saying, oh, well, I didn't receive your payments. And now all of a sudden he now lost $20,000 or what his life savings as he, put it on air. And all that could have been avoided if there was a paper trail and that you could have pulled up in a, court system. So you have to do things and you have to get in alignment with the right professional. So if you're trying to do some backdoor dealings from a van that pulls up, you just need to stop it because, and even Venmo sometimes is not a way for you to be documenting your land contract payments. Have a conversation before you sign any contract and read the contract. And I know my girls in the studio will also, whether you're working with them or not, they will do you a service and read over some things just to make sure you're even comfortable. And then going forward, eventually, I'm sure the relationship will align. But if you're in something, you do not have to keep on walking that direction. You can stop, turn around, and go the other way.
Yeah, and I think everything we were just talking about, even back to what you were saying of people getting in houses in 2020 just to buy and all of that stuff through everything up till this moment, what it really comes down to is I think people sometimes think they're going to get a deal or they don't need a professional on their side if they keep those people out of it. And really, it's going to cost you more in the long run. Mm-hmm. So being with an educated professional realtor, a professional mortgage person, that's going to guide you in the right direction. And like we were saying, go deep on the conversations, find out why, find out the true motivation behind what they're doing, and educate them in the right place. It's going to actually save them money over time.
I think we specifically talked about this, I think even the last time I was on here, but I will never forget a gentleman, because I think sometimes people like to hear the specifics. Like, okay, great, you tell me you can walk me through. What does walking me through that actually look like? Because there's so many people right now who are like, well, I was able to sell my home and go obtain a buyer, and they have a realtor, and they're going through the things, and they've got a mortgage, and I didn't have to do anything. And they think it's like, it saved them the money, right? And I have a perfect example of a man who needed to sell his rental in Farmington. And he was like, I'm doing it myself. And I was like, cool, I'm here for a DIY. if you need someone to read over your contracts, that's what I do every day. I'm happy to do that for a very like small thing. And he was, oh my gosh, this is great. Like he thought he had won the lotto. He started sending me over. He had got 2 offers. Guess what his offers were? What he told the people he wanted, but then a little less, because that's what happens when you try to negotiate on your own behalf. Someone's like, what are you asking? And then they're like, I want concessions. I want this. He's like, what does that mean? What's that bottom line? What is this netting? And guess what? Finally, he was so sick of going back and forth because I'm not calling that person and negotiating on his behalf. That's not what he hired me for. He was so tired of it. He was like, forget it. List the house, Amber. We got him.
You probably got more money. Yeah.
$6,000 more.
Huge.
Wow.
Huge.
It's not because he doesn't know what to do. It's just because we are marketing, we are advertising, we are creating demand. We have a professional wants to work with another professional. All the stars align when you are in the real estate world and you hire the right people to actually save you time and make you more money.
The cost of the commission, the cost of staging the home still was low enough where he netted way more money and getting that professional involved. All right, 248-539-9797. These guys are great. Always Amber Yacklin, Kristen Bond, Thrive Realty. And of course, the Mortgage Show here is brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. And we are powered by CMG Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1820. And we've got a call to get to. Let's go for it right now. Hey, we're ready for you. I got a whole new computer system here, Becky. I can't figure it out. Hey, good morning. You're live on the ticket. What's happening? You there? Hey, Ryan, you're on the air. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, hey, man. Yeah, so I had a question about barn dominiums. Now, I'm not really like all the way there yet, but I've been looking online. I've been seeing a ton of pictures of them.
They're cool.
And just kind of looking at all the details about that. Didn't really know like mortgages, insurance, all that kind of stuff, because technically it's a structure, but an outbuilding sort of a structure. Do you guys have any tips or ideas? Again, early stages, I don't have anything going yet, but currently looking at buying some property and then, moving forward with that, with that project.
That's the key. That's the key right there is, that's a unique property. So, not everyone's going to allow you to build it in every city and go forward. But in the rural of development areas, you're going to want to go purchase your land, find out from that city ahead of time if that's what you're thinking about building, that they're okay with it. But you see them with at least minimum of 5 acres. They're out structures, but they're homes. I mean, it's just like the cargo containers. I mean, you can turn anything into a home, and it really goes for a stick-built home also. I like them that you see them all online. It looks like most of the families, though, at least have, a couple acres out there.
Were you thinking about buying or purchasing or building or whatever? Where do you think you're doing this at?
So that's kind of the struggle, right? I'm looking for a piece of property that we can maybe pay cash for initially, just to kind of secure that piece. If there are any hurdles with financing and stuff, I have a piece of property and I don't have to roll all that into one. I live in the Wayne County area. Okay. I live in Canton currently, but I don't know, trying to stay close to here. Maybe the Salem Township is more rural. Okay. I know Canton won't let me build one, but just kind of looking around this area.
Well, that's okay. So just one thing I want to kind of maybe bring to your attention, right? Because it is really unique, right? What you're talking about. But then you also have to think about, is this something that you're going to be able to sell later as well? Like, is this like the in vogue thing that you're wanting to do right now? And then what does it look like in the future? So we do new construction. I'm going to have to dig into the barn dominium thing because it's very unique and there are a lot of restrictions around the cities. Like you're talking about, obviously, as you are opening up this Pandora's box a little bit, you're going to start getting into like what you cannot do, who's going to let you, who's not going to let you. And then that's going to also go alongside with, I'm 50 years old and I don't want to have this property anymore. Can I sell it? What does that look like? What is the resale value of something that you're going to just build and create of your own, and then maybe is there another option if the barn dominium isn't the way that you want to go? So I definitely think that it's worth the research, but I want to give you like that full picture because it sounds like you're just in the infancy of the state of this, of your thought process. But I think that you're doing everything the right way. But financing is going to be very unique. I can definitely tell you that. You're going to have at least a decent amount, like 20% at least.
Yeah, and financing and insurance were two things. I knew financing would probably be a unique situation, but then insuring the property, right? If I value it with all the assets inside at $300,000, will insurance companies will say no, it's just an outbuilding. It's not worth that much. We can only insure it for $100,000. So those are some of the things that I wasn't certain of. Yeah. But I was just curious. I listen to you guys all the time, so I thought, hey, maybe give you guys a call.
I'm curious too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up because
Yeah,
I
I'm
see
gonna
them.
look at
Yeah,
my-
I'm gonna take a look on Monday too.
For
so.
sure. And my sister-in-law, she's in insurance as well. So I mean, those are even things where that's curious for me
Yeah.
because like how does that insurance on the insurance side work and all that stuff? Because it's like I have a pole barn and I'm gonna now make it my primary home, and you can change anything, but at the end of the day, it's a pole barn. Just like you can have a manufactured home, you can give it an affidavit of a fixture, and you can put a basement on the thing,
Right.
but it's still a manufactured home.
Maybe versus a stick-built home. Hey,
Yes.
I love the call, right? We'll definitely follow up with you. And again, we'll all dive into it. You see all these cool structures going up across the United States. Yeah, some of them could be
Feels
a
like
little
he's
bit
a little
difficult.
bit more trendy for Wayne County, right?
We are all going to be like Googling the heck out of barndominiums now, like for the next several weeks.
Subdivisions of barndominiums going
Yeah,
up.
he's
That was
ahead of his
cool.
time around in Wayne County, so good for him.
All right, lots to talk about when we come back. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. Alrighty, we are back. The Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show in our 24th year. I'm Harvey Freed, Becky Alley. And of course,
24 years.
yeah, we've been doing this a long time, Becky. You're not
Snaps.
even, you're just 25 years old anyway.
Yeah,
so.
me too.
Kristen Bond and Amber Yacklin join us. Always fun to have you guys in the studio. We love getting into the roots of things, turning families into homeowners, turning some people, if you're a single individual, now's the time, build some equity. You might meet Mr. Right or Mrs. Right down the road, and now you've got some equity. So you're selling a condo, he's selling his house, she's selling her place. Everyone's selling, and now you're buying that next home. Home ownership is awesome. Again, not only is the roof over your head, you can build some wealth in it. I've struck gold on just about any property I've ever owned. I think with the appreciation going up, Becky, we got an average here of about between 4 and 7, maybe 4 and 10% appreciation across the United States.
Yeah, I mean, the individuals that purchased in the last 3 years, you can see it. It's at least $50,000 of equity in the home, even because we've been in such an appreciating market, and we're going to continue to be in an appreciating market. And that just, it is what it is because there is a housing shortage. There's more buyers, then there's housing, it's supply and demand, Eco 101. So when you have these conversations, this is another thing that we hear of often is, I'm going to wait till the housing market collapses. And it's just, and I can
It's
say
exactly
this,
how they say it too.
they do say it like that. And
They know more than us.
Yeah. So when you've been in the business for a long time, we can look backwards to see where we're going. And even with the rates, right, the trending, you can look backwards to see where we're going. Everything is cyclical. We're in cycles. And the truth is that there wasn't enough homes built over the last 10 years. There is a surplus of young buyers entering the buyer's pool. And there is and then the older, like the baby boomers will say, they're holding onto their real estate a little bit longer, but they're going to start releasing that as as their parents and they're moving on, they're downsizing, they're right sizing.
If the rates drop back,
yes,
maybe that's another incentive.
They're going to unlock those golden handcuffs of equity, and they are going to start throwing their hat into the ring in that regard as well. So that's where I think the first time home buyers are really going to go through it again. It's going to be a mini 2020 because the first time home buyers are going to be going up against the people with this equity that we're talking about. They're going to be stepping in with $50,000 of equity. And right now, and then the contingent, I have a house to sell and I want to buy a house. You can get your offer accepted with contingent. I have probably about 10 transactions going on right now where there's a contingent offer in line with that. It's not going to hinder you because other people want to sell their house and you're going to be in alignment with those people. But that's why you get with Amber and Kristen, because their connections, again, that's why we're hiring professionals, is because other professionals want to work with professionals. Oh, you have a house to sell? My buyer has a house to sell. Let's work together and let's get everyone to the closing table. And these are the deep dive conversations that we're having. So whether you're a first-time home buyer or a repeat buyer, you are going to win in this market. But if you don't play the lottery, you don't win.
Yes, and trying to time it, and Kristen, you can tell me what you're seeing out there, but people trying to time it are driving themselves insane. It's almost like you just got to make a decision and make it the right decision. Because at the end of the day, even the people who bought in 2020 who are having buyer's remorse, guess what? They made money on their houses.
Oh, they did great.
Absolutely.
They did great on their houses. That's the story. And information is a commodity. There's so much information coming at us as a general public that people are they're hearing so much noise that they don't know how to filter out. And so it's that clarity comes from the action. You call us, you have a conversation with Becky and Harvey, you have a conversation with Kristen and I, and we clarify what you want, when you want it, what that would look like for you. And then we give you a little pause, breathe moment, and you can decide what is next.
You know what I was actually thinking about the other day is indecision is almost like your own personal prison. If you are constantly like, well, should I stay or should I go? Should I buy or should I stay? And, when you're constantly in that limbo, it is almost like torturous because you're never really doing anything then. You're just constantly just floundering. And when you can make a decision with conviction and say, I'm going to stop drinking today. I'm going to go to the gym today no matter what. I'm going to stop renting today no matter what. I'm going to get out of this toxic relationship today. Enough is enough. No matter what that looks like, when you can walk a path forward with clarity, like we're talking about clarity, you're unstoppable. You literally can have cool flames behind you as you just torch and blaze your path. But you have to have that confidence within you. And sometimes you don't have to know everything. You just do it. And when I bought my first house, I was scared to death. I was, 24. I didn't have enough money in the bank. I didn't have enough experience for it. We're always feeling
we never
that,
think we have enough. We never think we have
yes.
enough. And I remember at some point feeling that same way too. And all of our buyers feel that way. And I have said this forever, I'm so glad that some of my first-time home buyers have their parents who have their backs. Mm-hmm. I said this literally sitting in this seat a year ago. I'm going to have my kids' backs. Kristen's going to have her kids' backs when they're buying a house. But mom and dad don't owe, if they haven't bought a house in 10, 15 years, all they've heard is the noise. They haven't walked through it. Bring them to the table with us when we're all having the first discussion. Mm-hmm. Don't bring them once we have an offer in and they're rolling a marble down the floor and they're like, this is uneven. They're like, this house looks old. And you're like, it is old. It is an old house. What are we talking about? Bring them in first so that we can all have a discussion about what the market really looks like so that you don't have to be floundering from what you want to do versus what your parents want to do. And now we're in this hold of what am I going to do?
Becky brought up something great too. You talked about bank statements and then credit also. You don't want to tell your mortgage person that you don't believe in credit. You don't want to tell your mortgage person that I don't believe in banks. That noise was something when I first got in the industry. I'm like, whoa. I never liked that kind of noise. And there's no doubt about it. You can get yourself into trouble with credit cards. But if you do the right thing, understand that a credit card, just like you're going to fill up your car with gas, you're going to be at the gas station at least rates once a week. That's 4 times a month, $50 or $40 every time you go fill up your tank. Maybe you're $160, $200 a month. Okay, get a credit card. Even if a secured credit card, you put that gas on there. That's the same cash that you're going to pay for at the pump. Now you pay it off on your credit card. And just your gas, just filling up your tank alone. If you got an electric car, it's a little different story. If you just the gas alone, Becky, you could build your credit up in 6 to 12 months.
Credit does not have to be like this elusive, mystical creature that nobody understands. And because you don't see it, you think it's not there. Credit is something, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's hard to get back once you mess it up, but it's not impossible to get yourself there. And it all stems from just education. And I feel like there's just not enough education when it comes to buying a house. And they're going to pound you with like geometry in school, but they're not going to tell you how to like read a tax returns and things like that.
It's crazy.
And so with credit, it's, little things, right? In a perfect world, you should have an installment loan, like a car. You should have a mortgage, 2 credit cards where you keep your balances under 43%. So if you have $1,000 balance, you want to keep it under $400, we'll say. But when you pay something with credit, you want to wait till that bill comes and then you pay it in full. You don't want to use a credit card if you don't have the money that you have to pay it off in full. And that's where people are getting lost because unfortunately, not everyone is in that position financially where they can be disciplined like that because they are using their credit cards to get by. COVID was really bad to a lot of people and a lot of individuals got into some financial hardships. And luckily we come across those individuals that were buying homes during that time and now we're able to refinance them and reset that baseline. There's a million ways that your home can be used to put you in a better position. And then it's also with resetting your baseline as far as your credit cards. Save yourself that money. Don't use it as a piggy bank by any means, but it's all situational for everybody.
I think the education piece is so important because like you said, we don't learn this stuff in school. We should. Mm-hmm. And when we started looking at getting a mortgage for our first house, I was already in the business, not for very long, but I was, and I didn't even know. We were very much the type that was like, oh, we're doing great because we're not using credit. Mm-hmm. And then we talked to a mortgage lender and he's like, you only have 1 trade line. He has none. You guys need to open some stuff, and we were looking at it like it was such a good thing that we weren't using credit, weren't living off of it. But really at the end of the day, that was working against us. So again, I think that comes into play, especially with younger first-time home buyers in making sure they're having these conversations ahead of time, because it might even be that they actually need to open some accounts.
Yeah, and don't guess. And don't guess what you have to open or what you have to pay off.
Oh my God,
everybody's always playing the guessing game. Yeah. And this was something that Becky, actually I learned from you very early on in my career, was that when someone reaches out and calls Capital Mortgage Funding and says, hey, Becky, I'm ready to buy a house. She pulls everything and she's like, oh, great. If you pay exactly this amount on this thing, you're going to be in a better position. I don't want to look at my credit and guess. I don't experience like your credit's changed. I'm like, I don't want to even open that email. I don't know what you're saying to me. It's all Chinese. Yeah. But when you can have someone, that's eye-opening. If you know that you can call to have that inquiry, we already established that it's not a hard pull on your credit. It's one of the, what did you call it? The most minuscule effect on your credit. That's minuscule, guys. That's nothing. Go Google it. It's a small word. It's very small. And once you know what you need to do to get yourself in a good position, it's not even about like, oh, I got to buy right now because the market's going to blow up. And then, oh my gosh. No, even if you're thinking a year from now, call Becky first, then call me and Kristen, and then let's go on the path together.
We're always learning something new for sure that we can share.
That's the journey.
It's a constant change because mortgage programs change, allowable credit scores change. Lots of changes are always happening. We always have to share this new information.
Yeah, and Becky and I even had a client early last year that she looked at what he had total funds, and part of what we needed to use those funds for were paying off a couple things that were on his credit. And so it all came together at the end and we took into account, okay, we can't use this for down payment or anything because it's paying off this on the credit. Mm-hmm. And again, conversations early on, knowing what amounts are there, what you need to do, and what needs to happen to make the final thing about purchasing happen.
And Harvey, you just mentioned about how things change all the time in the mortgage world, and that's in real estate too. Mm-hmm. So like not a knock on anybody who hasn't bought or sold a house in quite a few years, but I mean, that's me. I haven't bought or sold a house in 13 years, but I'm in the industry, so I'm seeing what's going on. Even the way you write your offers change with the shifting market. Even the things that sellers are expecting to see in an offer change. Or on the flip side of that, as an agent, I have to educate my seller, hey, you're not going to see the same things that your sister saw in 2020 on an offer.
Yeah, that's such a good
You
point.
can't have these expectations anymore just because Grandma Joe passed and you sold her house for $50,000 above asking, right? Like, we have to get real about what your specific, unique situation is, because guys, that is every single buying and selling that you will do your whole life. It is unique to you. It is unique to your property. It is unique to your financing. Like, no one has your job, has your savings, has your ideal house in mind. It is unique.
It's as unique as your DNA. And the only thing that ever stays the same in life is change. And you have to kind of just be forward thinking, and, it goes out to like, well, I'm going to do everything myself. Okay, you can do everything yourself, but we are boots on the ground. We are seeing this. We are a part of the ever changing, to the point that I almost sometimes take it for granted, where when people are having conversations, I've already been so past it that I'm like, oh, like, you're just now realizing this change. I'm like, I'm already over here now. So give us a call. I want to actually hear from a caller today. Another caller, yeah.
248-539-9797. Hey, by the way, everyone's favorite furry animal, Punxsutawney Phil, he was out. That's right. He said spring's coming early here, but I think the Woody the Woodchuck here in Michigan says otherwise. Anyhow, get yourself set up for home ownership. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. All righty, welcome back. 9:44 on a gorgeous weekend. That's right. They said the sun's going to come out and shine. 40 degrees plus
it's
today.
It's a beautiful 40th birthday for Miss Amber Yacklin.
Another happy birthday shout out to Amber. All right.
And if you're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, she's got her birthday tiara. It's good. Her birthday sash. We got her sitting pretty today.
Got the Super Bowl show coming up next Saturday. By the way,
this is the Super Bowl show.
This, gonna be super next week. Yeah, we always bring in you great information on mortgages and real estate, keeping it alive and kicking. Having
That's
great
so cool.
people like always every month. I always have a new set of real estate agents I'm working with. Always try to build in relationships. Some great people out there. Some people make things a little rougher. So again, always cool your jets a little bit. Work with those real professionals. And if you're in a transaction and you're not being nice to your loan officer, you better fix your game up, Becky, because I'll tell you, we're in a factual business here. Our goal is to get the loan closed quickly and smooth for everyone involved.
Yes, I can assure you that there is no one on the face of the planet that wants to drag out a transaction. There's things that happen. There's things that go on behind the scenes. There's a lot of buyer sabotage. If you're a buyer and you're buying a house and you open up that credit before you own the house, you close, that's going to be an issue. And so where I'm noticing, though, on the professional side of it, there seems to be maybe every other transaction, maybe other 3, there's another professional, like a real estate agent, that is just driving everyone to crazy town. And I'm speaking from experience because I deal with a lot of different personalities all the time. And I have a transaction right now where I'm talking to, and now mind you, I'm not even out of pocket. Like, I'm not even out of contract. There was a MIJDA financing. There's extra, there's extra timelines, but I'm not really even out of the contract. But hold on. So the seller, I'm talking to now the seller of the seller of the seller. There's 3 transactions, and our seller agent is literally like calling every 5 seconds, like saying it's going to blow up if we don't close on Monday, and if we don't close on Tuesday, everyone's going to be like, their face is going to melt off. So I went a transaction down. So I'm like, okay, so if she's pressuring me, who's pressuring her, right? I understand that. So I went one transaction down and said, look, I'm like, I'm not sure how you're feeling about this. I'm like, but everything's fine. Everything's going to close, and kind of smooth it all out. And he was like, all right, great. Thank you. I appreciate the conversation. He was very pleasant, very kind. And then I find out that he's not even the one that's pressuring her. It's just her, getting a little wild for no reason.
Well,
I mean,
here's what I think happens, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because
tell me.
I see this happens all the time.
Like, I'm trying to reel it in, and I'm like, no, like, stop. We don't got to be crazy.
This doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes there is an agent that is feeling the stress and emotions from their seller or their buyer, and then they are projecting that all on us. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't play one on TV, but I have enough issues to just let you know.
You can see Becky. She's worked out your problems.
Yeah, Kristen's like my unpaid therapist. I owe her a lot of money in therapy bills. And what happens is when we call as the professional to another professional, like, we are hired to consult. We are hired to direct that train. And sometimes what's going to happen in your real estate transaction as a buyer or seller, you're going to get emotional. You're going to get upset or sad or worried or anxious, right? That's all very normal things. My job is to absorb that, give you factual information back that is just factual. I'm not here to fix your emotions. I'm just here to be like, here's the next process. Here's the next step. I love you. Everything's going to be okay. When I go call the next person, I can't be like, everyone is freaking out. Like, you got to just, that's going to come with experience and with age and with time. But there has to be a new standard in our profession.
I agree.
Because I'm so tired of that narrative that we're all just crazy people calling each other wild west, trying to slap a deal together. Like, no, we are professional consultants. We are paid as professional consultants, and we are here. If your client is making you crazy, I am so sorry. I'm here for you.
The Mental Minute brought to you by Amber Yak. And you can find her at Thrive
Mental
Realty.
Minute, is that what he just said?
The Mental Minute. You know what, guys? Because of the agents I was working with down in Florida, so I got a purchase down in Florida going on the water. It's awesome. Because the agents are cool, they were able to communicate. Communication, we found out, and this was new to me. As I always say, I'm learning something new. The flood insurance, FEMA allows the flood insurance policy in Florida to be transferred from one current seller to the buyer. It just saved the clients like $4,000. I'm like, just as little something, you got to get flood insurance on a house. You're in a flood zone. Yeah. It ended up saving the buyer because the seller reached out to the buying team and said, hey, look, if you want to transfer our policy, you can do that. One phone call, $4,000 savings, closing on Wednesday. Actually, they're going to close up here, and everything worked out great. Better communication, chill out, be a professional. It always works out. They always close.
Old school mentality is that it's the buyer versus the seller, and we're all in the boxing ring. And the truth of the matter is,
going back to that, and it's not.
Well,
it's
we
not.
all want the same thing. Yeah. Literally, everyone involved in a real estate transaction wants the same thing. The seller wants to sell the house. The buyer wants to buy it. The agents both want to close. The lender wants to close. Everyone
the lender wants the pay stubs and the bank statements.
Right.
Yes.
Like everyone wants the same outcome. Right. So we should be working together. And like you said, the old school mentality of like this side against this side, like we're in a courtroom and it's two lawyers, is not how it should be. And I think that's why, our relationships with our co-ops, our relationships with the lenders we're working with, all of that is super important because it does play a factor.
And I want you to think too, if you are a buyer or a seller right now and you're working with an agent who does not challenge you and is just like, yes, whatever you want, that's an assistant. That's not a real estate agent. That's not a real estate professional. And there are times where like my clients would be like, well, the lender is making me crazy and I already submitted these and now I have to submit them again. I'm like, you're going to do whatever that lender says because they're giving you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I bring it back down to earth. Like, I don't care if you have to give them the same pay stub 45 times. That is what they are requiring because they are giving you so much money and you don't have that money.
No, okay, so like me and Harvey were talking the other day. We were laughing about this the other day about like, oh my God, I've sent the pay stubs, like what you're just talking about. And then the pay stub that they're sending you is a picture of their hand in the middle of the pay stub. I'm like, yes, you did send me your pay stub 7 times, but you have a great polished fingernail, but I need it out of the picture so I can submit
this. I can't see anything that I need to see.
Yes.
The loan officers and mortgage people out there will appreciate this one too. Definitely the 2023 W-2s. That's right, folks. You just got them like last week. We need them. We need them now. We didn't need them 2 weeks ago, but now we need them that you found a house. And again, it's just a little bit of paperwork to really get the house of your dreams, to build a ton of equity, to have this wealth experience, generational wealth, and everything great about home ownership. Again, we have some quick open lines here, 248-539-9797. And education is what we do.
Yeah, and we appreciate everyone that's tuning in live on Facebook as well. We can see you. So good morning to everybody and all of our viewers and listeners. So if you do want to be live on the air, it's 248-539-9797. We got the birthday girl in the house, and I know she's got something to say always.
Yeah, well, I just feel like it's setting up those proper expectations. So like if you're listening to this and you're like, I've never been through the home buying process, I don't know what to expect. When we go through our buyer consultation, which I've done over Zoom, I've done over coffee, I've done over the phone, it doesn't matter how we connect. I actually put in there like, okay, and then the next step is you're going to get your pre-approval. Like if they haven't already gotten one, right? So I'm like, you're going to call my girl Becky, you're going to get a pre-approval. I was like, the next step is we're going to go under contract. The next step is she's going to ask you for a lot of documents over and over and over and over again, and you're just going to give them to her every time she asks for them, right? It's tongue in cheek. It's a joke. I know that they laugh about it, but then I can go back and say, hey, quit complaining. You're getting a house. Give her whatever she wants.
But what you're describing too is, like I said last week, the menu's not the meal. Right? You can go and look at the menu at McDonald's and know what you're, like, okay, that's whatever. But if you go to this fine dining experience, you can look at this menu, but it's the experience that you're getting. And what you're describing is a buyer experience. You're not just putting a piece of paper in front of them and not hand holding them. We're giving you an experience. We're not just saying bullet point things and you pick soup du jour. It is an experience. We're experienced professionals creating experiences for each individual, whether it's a refinance, a purchase. We're here to help you change your life, but we're going to guide you through the step, and we're going to give you that caviar. We're going to give you that 7-course dinner. And when it's happening, be like, oh, this is what Amber was saying. Oh, this is what Kristen said was happening. Oh, now I see why Becky needs that updated bank statement because I gave a earnest money deposit of $1,000 and it just cashed last week, but I gave her my bank statement. But now I understand that now she needs my January statement because what happened was last month, and now we're moving forward. We have to hit a moving target going 1,000 miles an hour, and while you feel like you're not moving at all, we're running the whole entire time.
There's like little small things too, Beck, like even that earnest money deposit check. So on an FHA mortgage, we actually need your bank statement to show it cleared. But on a conventional mortgage, we just need a copy of the canceled check. And then the gift letter thing's a little bit different too. So there's little nuances that sort of separate one mortgage from the other. And speaking about some different kind of mortgages, USDA rule development loans. I wrote this down. It sounded interesting to me. 1 to 4
I like
person,
the way you say it.
1 to 4 1 to 4 person households, Becky. Income could be up to $114,850. That's a zero down program. Families of 5 or more, Becky, and thinking about the barnuminium, the earlier call, families of 5 or more, $151,600. You can buy a house on 5 acres in a rural area and get in zero down.
Oh, I'm sold.
Maybe down the road you build now you've got a house, and if you want to build that barndominium or something else, maybe that comes into your play, into your cards down the road.
There is a plethora of items on our menu, okay, that is going to help serve you and your individual needs, depending on where you're buying, right? So USDA is zero down, but that's not zero out of pocket. So if you are in a situation where you only have $5,000 and you're looking in a rural area that will allow you to do this kind of financing, that program still might not work for you because you still might need $5,000, more than $5,000 for closing. And if it's in a competitive situation, the seller might not be willing to pay some of your closing costs. So then we might have to pivot to a down payment assistance program. Maybe you make more than $125,000 and you're over those income limits. So all these things are what, like, our brain is constantly on fire on the lending side to make sure that we are curtailing something that's going to fit you where you got to go. Because I can give you the instructions, I can give you that GPS to drive in a straight line, but if you want to go zigzagging all crazy, they're gonna be like, okay, well, we're going here now, we're going here. No, we're going to guide you and say, these are the top 3, these are your choices, this is what is going to be best for you. Do you agree and do you see it?
Well, here's my prediction for 2024.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more different programs of financing than we did in the last few years. So I think that there's a bad stigma of only accepting cash or conventional offers. And sellers, if you are hearing my voice right now, stop doing that. There are so many other programs that still get more money in your pocket. All you want is that net number. So don't let somebody scare you out of FHA. And we went to a course and learned about VA loans. And that was eye-opening.
Yeah, absolutely. It talked about the strength of a VA buyer. And I think that a lot of people think because they're doing a VA loan with 0 down, they don't have money. And that's just not the case. It's a benefit to them that they get that program.
Their down payment was paid by their service to our country, and that is their right to use it. And so a VA buyer is one of the best buyers out there. And we are top 4 VA lender in the nation for a reason. So if you are a VA buyer, you have a home with us at Capital Mortgage Funding.
There you go. Hey, guys, that's going to end our mortgage real estate show. I hope you join us next Saturday again. We got sports coming up next. Amber Yacklin and her birthday. Kristen Bond, Thrive Realty. Great office. Contact them. Find them. Look up Thrive Realty. You'll find some great people. For Becky Alley, I'm Harvey Freed. Lots to talk about next week, Becky.
Happy birthday, Amber.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We will see you next Saturday.